What is a C# class? We're going to cover that today. It is a blueprint to an object that will be created in memory. Now I'm going to give you a quick demonstration. So I'm going to use a little bit of TV magic here and skip along this process, but we're going to create a .NET Core app. We're going to select a folder, name this web app, and change the name of the solution. And then we're going to create it, and there's our, we want to make sure we have ASP.NET Core 5.0, and once that's fantastic, we can go ahead and hit create. We're going to go with the MVC project, of course, and model view controller, and voila. So this takes longer, but we need to get through this as quickly as possible. And there we are. So the next thing I'm going to do is add a class library, and that's the one that we'll be creating our classes in. Again, a little bit more TV magic to speed this along. But basically, you select new project, you search for a class library, and then hit next, rename it, and voila. Now right there you see that we have a class. We're going to rename that class to like Guardian, as if it's like a game character. We'll start showing this off in the framework we name, and then we rename this, and we're going to name it Guardian as well. People tend to delete that and then create new classes. That's fine, but there you have it, an actual class created by using the class keyword. So far we've created 2 projects, a web app, a class library. I'm going to create a console app, and over the next couple of videos I will be showing you the many things we can do in object-oriented programming for a class. So one more piece of the puzzle to create, which will be adding a console app, and then we get to do class stuff. Okay, a little bit more TV magic here. Gonna add a console app. So I'm going to go back to add new project. I'm going to use this console app to do some additional stuff. I think at the end this will be a cool little demonstration, but I'm going really into all the class stuff. Let's name this app, and there we go. All right, now we're going to start the basics of a class. This idea of a class being a blueprint to an object is related to a class defining the properties, fields, and methods of an object. So technically, this is already a class because we have the keyword class associated to this code. So public class means this is the access modifier, which means it's public. So when anybody references this namespace, just like using system up here, when you have references this domain and you start to create the classes, if it's a public class, it means you have the ability to create that object. Now I'm gonna copy some code in here and kind of go through it real quickly. So when a class is called the blueprint of an object, this is what this means. We're going to have an object that you can create in memory called of type Guardian. And that allows you to now define all the things about a Guardian. A Guardian is like a fictional character that's in some sort of, silly game thing. So right here, our first example, first line of code right here has the private access modifier associated to it, which means that when people reference this class, they will not be able to reference this directly. They won't be able to type in guardian._life total. They won't be able to do that. You will be able to have public access to naming this Guardian. You will be able to see the life total, but this says you can only get the life total. That can be expressed in multiple ways. Here's attack power. You can only get the value that sits in attack power. You can only get the value in block power. Now the difference between this property in these properties is this is an auto implemented property, meaning it functions similar to this property, but the compiler takes care of creating the private variables to store the data and whether you get it only. So these two properties do the exact same thing. This is the auto implemented way, meaning the compiler will take care of creating all of that. If we remove this, we would be able to set that directly in code. Same thing with this. Now this here is a special method that's called a constructor that's called on every object, which represents the name of which has the same name as the method that has the same name of the class. This is the default, but you can create multiple variations of it, and we'll get into that later. Now, the thing about these variables, which is different than these properties, is this property we can set that directly in code, but as you can see, we cannot set either one of these. They don't have a set or get method. They don't have a set method, but they do have a get. Okay? Now, these methods is how we've decided that those values will be updated. So these methods, they calculate power. They simply take whatever total number you bring in here and add it to the current life total, attack to the attack power, and this will add it to the block power. So there's different points. So that's what is meant by it being a blueprint. This code will be, when you instantiate it, it will become an object that does this in memory. And depending on the scope of your object, that determines how long that object will exist in memory. So this here is our domain where our class libraries are. And so we're going to get ready to add that to our web project, which we just created. So there's nothing special going on in there. We'll just slide you over here, little web project. And then we're going to make a reference to this class library. So we go over here to dependencies and then add a project reference. There's our coding class example domain. Horrible name. And so at this time, let's check the project. So now we can see that there's a update here in this project file that shows that we're referencing this domain's code. Beautiful. So we've added the reference, and so in the home controller, which is the only page we have, now we're getting ready to include the namespace. Using, and what word is it coding? Probably shouldn't have given it the same name. Dot domain. Oh, sorry. And so in our very first view, we can go here. This is the constructor for this controller. So we're just gonna reference the class. And even though this is in a different project, we're going to reference this class. Sorry. var player one, we're going to call it new guardian. Now, remember when we were talking about the constructor? This here is a representation. This is actually calling, let's go ahead, this constructor. So if we did var one, yeah, it's gonna bark at me a little bit and put a breaking point here. So when this code fires, we're gonna stop here, and so when it becomes an object in memory is when you hit the new keyword. This is going to create that new object, and player 1 will become that new object in memory, and we will be referencing it from player 1. So here we go. Please take your time, no rush. All right, then we're gonna go F10, and see it came right into here. Although we're not using it, that's why we're getting that line. So that's the constructor. It doesn't do anything different on our page because we don't tell it to. So I don't want my definition to go on too long of what a class is, but that's what a class is, a blueprint to an object, and we will keep expanding upon this here topic. So thank you very much. Hey yo! 2021 has begun. Thank you so very much for watching these videos. Like and subscribe if you want to. I appreciate every way you support. Have a lovely day, night, just depending on what time it is in your part of the world.